Number 10. Aaron Guerrero and Sierra Halseth. In April 2021, a 16-year-old girl, Sierra Halseth, and her 18-year-old boyfriend, Aaron Guerrero, were arrested for killing her father in Las Vegas. Authorities believe they had murdered 45-year-old Daniel Halseth, whose burned body was found in the garage. All evidence pointed toward the victim being killed before the fire, which was also believed to be intentionally set. The pair even tried to dismember the body with some power tools they purchased using the victim's credit cards. Police found a large burn area in the living room with blood nearby, as well as a chainsaw and handsaw with blood and tissue splattered across them. The coroner examined the dead body and ruled that Daniel died from sharp force injuries. It didn't take long for cops to track the teens down using surveillance footage that showed them leaving in the father's vehicle. Investigators later found out that while the two were dating, they were forbidden from seeing each other because they planned to steal money from their parents and run off together into the sunset. The couple didn't accept this fate, so they decided to murder Daniel in cold blood. Perhaps the most disturbing evidence surfaced a couple of months later when a cell phone video showed the two laughing about murdering somebody and having lots of sex near the crime scene. They recorded this while still on the run from police. In May 2022, the teens pleaded guilty to 9 counts, including murder, arson, and robbery. While the two have not been sentenced, they could spend the rest of their lives in prison, and deservedly so. Number 9. Evelyn Gainza and Damar Terueas. In September 18, an 18-year-old Miami woman named Evelyn Gainza allegedly murdered her own father Evelio over a dispute revolving money. She then tried to stage a home invasion with her 19-year-old boyfriend Damar Teruelas and use another man as a cover-up. At first, they believed Damar was the one who pulled the trigger, but later they debunked this theory when Damar himself turned on his girlfriend and agreed to testify against her for a better sentence. He pleaded guilty to being an accessory to murder after the fact and will spend 5 years behind bars with 10 years probation once he gets out. According to Damar, Evelyn's father spoiled her, but she wasn't grateful at all. She didn't care about studying, often smoked pot, and was usually found hanging out with the wrong crowd. At one point, she even hit her father with a baseball bat while he was sleeping on the couch. Instead of turning his daughter in, Evelio sent her daughter for a psychiatric evaluation and just wanted her to do better. After getting released from the hospital, she spent a few months with Damar in Lehigh Acres, but eventually came back to Miami. She believed that her father had been collecting government assistance payments because she was a minor and that she should have gotten the money instead. When Evelio refused to hand his daughter the cash, she got out a gun and shot him in the back multiple times until he was dead. Number 8. Benjamin O'Shea and Naomi Johnson. In January 2022, 26-year-old Benjamin and 24-year-old Naomi from Southwark were sent to prison for the murder of their own child, Amina Faye Johnson. The couple called authorities when their 8-week-old baby stopped breathing, and doctors initially thought it was SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. But x-rays showed a different story and a large amount of injuries inflicted on the child. An expert in osteoarticular pathology revealed the fractures couldn't have been accidental, and confirmed that the baby had suffered limb and rib fractures on at least 9 separate occasions. Radiologists found several other fractures on Amina's body that indicated she had suffered continued physical abuse during her short life at the hands of her parents. Her injuries also showed that she had suffered bleeding in her head. The couple was found guilty in November 2021 of, quote, causing or allowing a child to suffer serious physical harm. Benjamin was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison, while Naomi got 7. After getting arrested, the pair tried to blame their daughter's death on a visit to the doctor and claimed that paramedics were responsible for the child's injuries. The judge, who was present at their sentencing in the Inner London Crown Court, stated that this case had the highest seriousness in terms of cruelty towards a child that they'd ever dealt with. It wasn't revealed which one of them actually was to blame for the fatal injuries and who just stood there and let it all happen. Later, the couple was also found guilty of cruelty to another child, and the Metropolitan Police described their many crimes as simply monstrous. Number 7. Elizabeth Uckman and Brandon Copeland. A young couple in San Diego, California was arrested and accused of killing their 3-month-old baby Delilah. This happened only a few weeks after she was sent home to her parents by social services. 22-year-old Elizabeth Uckman and 21-year-old Brandon Copeland faced charges for 1 count of first-degree murder back in November 2021. According to local TV news stations, the police responded to a call about an unresponsive infant in northeastern San Diego and found Delilah not breathing. Authorities performed CPR and even emergency medical services arrived to take the child to the hospital, but nothing worked. Delilah was later pronounced dead. Elizabeth's grandmother, Adrienne Arnett, told NBC San Diego that she believed Delilah was abused before her death. She claimed that Benjamin especially had been a threat to the baby. She revealed that social services took the child away from her parents because they deemed the couple's apartment unsuitable for the baby to live in. But after they cleaned up the home, Delilah was returned to her parents despite their relatives' warnings to the authorities. Social services were repeatedly told her parents were dangerous. One of their neighbors, Sabrina Camacho, revealed that she didn't even realize the couple had a kid because she never heard them scream or cry, but she did hear two adults arguing often. Elizabeth is being held without bond at Las Colinas Detention and Reentry Facility, while Brandon is being held at San Diego Central Jail. If found guilty, they each could face up to 25 years in prison. Do you think 25 years is enough time? Tell us in the comments and hit subscribe while you're at it. Number 6. Jolie Callan and Lauren Daniel Bunner. 18-year-old Jolie Callan had her whole life ahead of her. She was an ambitious young girl with big dreams and massive potential. She was pretty popular in high school and was known for dyeing her hair in punky pink and purple colors. She had a new boyfriend and was just about to start college when her ex, Lauren Daniel Bunner, invited her to go on one last hiking trip. She agreed, not knowing it would be the last thing she'd ever do. On this trip, the two were supposed to reconcile and come to terms with being friends after their breakup. Apparently, their relationship had been pretty rocky, and Bunner was extremely possessive. He only wanted her to spend time with him and his friends, and would get jealous if she hung out with anyone else. She tried to break up with him multiple times, but stopped every single time once he started threatening to kill himself if she left. Eventually, she succeeded in breaking things off. So this hike was more than just a fun trip for Bunner. He was furious for the way things had gone down. On August 30th, 2015, they took Callan's dog to the Pinhoti Trail in the Alabama countryside and started enjoying nature scenery. Chillingly enough, Bunner posted pictures of the day's events to his Instagram page. He uploaded 3 photos of his ex-girlfriend, with the last photo being taken just a few moments before her death. Using a .22 caliber bear claw, Bunner fired a bullet in the back of Jolie's head, but he didn't stop there. When she fell to the ground, he turned her over and shot her between the eyes before shoving her off a 40-foot or 12.2-meter cliff. A couple years later, he pleaded guilty to the murder and was sentenced to 52 years in prison for taking Jolie's life in such a vicious way. Number 5. Erin Caffrey and Charlie Wilkinson. 16-year-old Erin Caffrey met 18-year-old Charlie Wilkinson while working as a waitress at a Sonic fast food restaurant. They immediately hit it off, and their relationship progressed super quickly. He even gave her a promise ring and was very vocal about wanting to marry her in the future, but their parents didn't approve of the relationship at all. Erin's father, Terry Caffey, noted that he had reservations about Wilkinson from the very beginning, and there were just some things about the boy that didn't sit right with him. Erin started messing up in school and stopped going to church, something she had previously enjoyed. Her parents were understandably concerned and decided to find out more about their daughter's new boyfriend. They saw his MySpace page and found out that there were a bunch of sexual references and other disturbing posts. The Caffeys insisted that their daughter end a relationship, and Erin was not happy about it at all. Her friends would later tell authorities that she would often talk about killing her parents in front of them, since she believed it was the only way she could be with Wilkinson. And soon Erin planned a massacre of her own with Wilkinson and his friend Charles Wade, and on March 30th, 2018, the two boys pulled into the Caffey's driveway. Erin and Wade's girlfriend waited outside in the car. Wilkinson then went inside and shot her parents and Erin's 2 siblings, Tyler and Matthew. After that, they set the whole house on fire by pouring lighter fluid on the furniture. Somehow the father managed to come back to consciousness and crawled out through a window. He told police about Wilkinson, and soon the authorities caught the culprits. Wilkinson, Wade, and Erin were all given life sentences. Number 4. Ellen Rose Fryer and Gavin McFarlane. Erin Rose Fryer was only 15 when she got into a relationship with 19-year-old Gavin Curtis McFarlane. Unsurprisingly, her father Aaron was not happy about this at all, since he thought the age difference was inappropriate. Ellen didn't take kindly to this reaction, so she planned the murder of her father with her boyfriend and 22-year-old Russell Pierce Jones II. And they killed her father in the most gruesome way imaginable. One morning in October 2017, poor Aaron was beaten to death in his own home in Oregon. Then the trio loaded his body into a car and dumped it. It didn't take long for police to figure out what happened, and soon they arrested Gavin and Ellen. In January 2019, she pled guilty to conspiring to murder her father, and a few months later was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Because Gavin was an adult, he was found guilty of homicide and was given a life sentence. Ellen told the court that while she can't erase the past, she's since found religion and forgiveness, and can now see humanity from a new, compassionate perspective. Until she's 25, she'll spend her time in a juvenile facility before getting transferred to a women's correctional institute to carry out the remainder of her sentence. Number 3. Joshua Mabane and Linda Berry. Joshua and Linda had been dating for less than a week when the two 17-year-olds got a taxi in Northeast Washington, D.C. with the intention of robbing their driver, Mohammed Quadir. Joshua made Quadir drive them to a local school in the area, and after they arrived, he shot the driver in the back of the head. After this, the car started accelerating and then crashed into a tree. Police would later find the vehicle burning with Mohammed's dead body still inside. The couple was also extremely careless after carrying out the murder. Linda allegedly told someone that they'd robbed a cab driver, and this person gave the tip to cops after looking up the story online about the incident. She also told someone else that she had killed a cab driver with her boyfriend and even showed them a bruise she received from the accident. The suspects' homes were then searched, and authorities found a bunch of evidence from Joshua. He was hiding a black handgun, ammunition, and even hotel receipts from the area near the murder. There was also a note in Linda's home that said they shouldn't have taken the dude's money. The pair were found guilty and were sentenced to 45 years in prison. Co-workers described Mohammed as a nice person who was very serious about his work. He never got into any trouble and kept his nose clean. All it took was two snot-nosed kids to end a decent man's life. Number 2. Justine Winter and Brian Langford. On August 16, 2011 in Montana, 16-year-old Justine Winter got into a terrible argument with her boyfriend Brian Langford. She felt so horrible that she wanted to take her own life and decided to use her car as the weapon of choice. Justine just wanted the pain to end. She was driving at over 80 miles per hour, or just about 130 kilometers per hour, and crashed headfirst into another car. That vehicle belonged to a 34-year-old pregnant woman named Erin who had her 13-year-old son with her. They all died after impact. Justine herself survived but sustained brain damage and other injuries and was forced to go through a bunch of surgeries. Initially, she tried to convince everyone the accident was Erin's fault, but soon authorities found out her story had too many loopholes. They discovered that she was texting her boyfriend only minutes before the crash and even told him she was going to try and kill herself by wrecking the car. A couple years later, she was charged as an adult and convicted of deliberate homicide. At first, she was sentenced to over 30 years in prison, but later the judge reduced her sentence by half. Then in 2015, Justine was placed under parole due to good behavior, and she's now walking as a free woman. Number 1. Frank DeLeon Jr. and Diamond Alvarez. In January 2022, a 15-year-old girl named Diamond was meeting her boyfriend Frank to confront him for cheating on her. According to the Houston Police Department, Frank did not take this well at all and shot her 22 times in the back. Diamond's family heard the gunshots and quickly ran out to try and help her. They were alarmed after seeing her dog Peanut alone and knew something was wrong. When they found her body, her mother attempted CPR to bring her back to life, but at that point, it was too late. Paramedics declared Diamond dead at the scene, and just like that, a wonderful young girl's life was over in an instant. As for the culprit, he tried to flee from justice, and when the cops found him, he literally had suitcases and clothes on his bed. He was charged with murder, but soon walked free after his family posted $250,000 bond. Understandably, the victim's loved ones were furious over this and wanted Frank to be in custody. They even carried out protests and argued the culprit was a flight risk since he had been previously caught trying to escape. A few months later, he was arrested again for violating his curfew's rules and is currently back in prison serving time. If convicted, he's expected to get a life sentence for the murder. Thanks for watching. Did this video change your perspective on young love at all? Tell us in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time on The Bad Badger.